All right.
Einstein might have been meandering through the kitchen when it sort of came to him. So it's not something like that. The basic sort of platform, is usually in sitting. And if you are interested enough, when you're in a reclining position and you're not exhausted, but you're on, you're doing what you're supposed to do mentally when you meditate, that can also be fine. It's not kind of against the rules. But there's basically 4 postures. That's walking, standing, sitting, and laying. So they're all valid. And then you've got all the transitions in between. So I had one teacher who was talking about mindfulness of blinking, or you've got sort of mindfulness of extending your hand for a door handle. So there's not just one fixed sort of microscope position that you have to adopt. But so that is basically the 4 postures and then everything in between. And I mean, there are other, I was musing about this a bit early on. It's like, the kind of recliners they have around swimming pools.
Yeah.
That's fine. If you're not going to fall asleep, but you're going to remain in a kind of alert position. There's no benefit from sitting in a painful position. One teacher is trying to pass that idea off for a long time, like you're paying off karma. It's just nonsense. When you get to learn more about it, it's not like a ball of string that you've got to use up all the pain and then you paid it off or something. Right. So Asians from, the classic Asian countries like, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Burma, and Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, and all that, they will have grown up sitting in this sort of half lotus position. So it's easy for them. And sitting for an hour is no big deal. But if you get someone from Frankfurt or something and they go to Thailand, for them sort of sitting, can be really painful, excruciatingly painful. Their ligaments and tendons just aren't used to it. Yeah. And then the pain of the knees and the pain of the back is extraordinary. So in that case, transitioning from a chair gradually onto a cushion and then the cushion down, gradually is sensible as your ligaments stretch. Like with anything, like with yoga, I think you shouldn't overdo it at first. And then also, I've got one of my best places for reclining in here is a kind of S-shaped rocking chair that you lay back on it, but it's kind of S-shaped. It's made of bamboo with wicker, and that is perfect. Honestly, that's one of the best things to practice. Often, I was at a raw food yoga detox center, and there was just nowhere to sit down. You either had walls that were like this, or floor, or you had hammocks. So you're just like incapacitatedly flat, and your spine is arched. So to try to keep the proper arch of the spine is good. I've got one of those, like taxi drivers have, and that where they have a curved cushion that matches your spine shape. Yeah, those are really good. If you're laying on a hard bed, to have one of those under to keep the arch of the spine, so the spine just doesn't sort of collapse. But that's basically it, so that you are all alert, and comfortable.
So you can focus where you need to focus rather than
be distracted by a load of
or
way too relaxed, so you're just going to fall asleep. So there's a lot of statues of the Buddha like this. I used to do that for quite a while. If you go like that, your hand goes to sleep, in my case, so I just didn't like that one. But I did find that if you turn the fist and put it on the area behind the ear, there is a flat on that, you can stay for a bit longer. There's a position like that, reclining Buddha type of thing. So anyway, there's a few tips about posture.
Yeah, brilliant.
But it's not really too. It's not quite so much like yoga. Like it's not really a thing you do with your body too much. It's a bit more with your mind. With your mind rather than the body. So and that's also a bit of a revelation. Is that you can be in any position at any time and do it. Including moving quite rapidly or quite slowly. Some techniques emphasize the slow movement, but I think that's a bit like sports. In sports, when you want to see and focus on a bit of the special action, or even in choreography or dance lessons, they'll slow it right down so you can concentrate on the action. But then, you know, once you've got it going, and then you'll move it up in full speed.
Yes.
You don't have to keep going in slow-mo, or have to do it in fast, quick, you know, like you also got people who believe that they go racing backwards and forwards doing their walking meditation. So it's more on training the perception, and on training it's more on training the perception, actually. And it's not only about concentration, it's more depending if you're looking for high focus and deep concentration, so that's more on concentration, on keeping it on a stable object. So to have a stable object like the breathing, so then you're going to zoom, you know, on and hold it. So you want it to be staying still. Just, you know, if you're going to concentrate on a star in the sky, it's difficult if you're on a rocking boat or moving around. But if you got a microscope laboratory and you can look, and then it's better if the whole place is calm and not disturbed. But if you are looking about about developing insight, that's okay to have more movement, because anyway, you've got very many objects of attention.
Okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting.
Am I doing so far? Okay, so far? I really don't want to get too complicated.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. I could stay here for weeks listening to you. I'm fascinated. Another question is how can I find time?
Is if that's going to help? It's actually in my ear already. Yeah, what'd you say? It's like I'm getting like an old man. Yeah, go on, what did you say? Do it again.
The voice comes out.
Volume buttons are for. Here you go.
Excellent. So a very frequently asked question is, how can I find time to meditate in my busy schedule, in my busy day?
Get up early. I mean, if you go to bed earlier and switch all the devices off, actually off, not sort of just there in case. So you're sleeping with one eye open to see if your friend in Japan messaged you or something.
Yeah.
You know, that's because, you know, that's the problem with the internet, isn't it? It's like there was always someone to message you at any time of the day or night. But yeah, turn things off, all the lights off, get a good night's sleep, and then wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and sit for 45 minutes. And then you've kind of got your, you know, a lot of your bulk of your meditating done, and then go back to sleep. And then power nap, you know, often like 20 minutes before it's getting close to lunchtime, I'll set the timer for a power nap. Actually, using timers is really good. Instead of just waiting till you feel like it and have your emotions drive it, is stick to a schedule and then just put a timer on, you know, for 20 minutes and then zonk, have a power nap, you know, and don't try to, it is also just about deep rest. You know, a lot of it, I think people try to get emotions or sensations or new mental aptitudes out of meditation, but a lot of it is really to give the brain a refresh. And you know, we live in a really complex world. In 3 hours you can have gone like over incredible new things and new things and new things and new things, and sometimes it's just good to just power down, just to absorb all these new changes that have happened. So regular power napping, and then keep listening so that you can find, you know, you make the changes that the meditation is suggesting to you. You know, you can abandon and drop off a lot of stuff that's just baggage, and you know, whatever it is, you know, respond to the insights we're already getting. Otherwise, it won't work for a while. You know, if you're getting really good information from your meditation, which you should be, you do have to respond to it. If you're just going, oh, no, I don't think so, putting it down, ignoring it, so it's, the meditation won't be as restful and as refreshing as it could be.
Sure.
But then that takes, you know, being open to the new and the unknown, and, you know, learning to listen and trust your intuition. So what was the question again? How did I get off of that? I ended up in a bit of an odd place.
That all reads brilliantly.
Crunchy. What was that?
Yeah, that's brilliant. So yeah, the question was how to find time.
Oh, how to find time. Yeah, no, meditating in the nighttime. And then the other thing is just as you start to increase your awareness more, you're actually just extending the time you're there in your life.
Yeah.
Busyness is often on autopilot, and you're not really there. You're in the future and the past, in the future and the past, really in the future, really in the past, really in the past. So, you know, just by being more where you actually are, then you're going to start to find that you're not as busy in the way that you're overdoing it. A lot of the best type of thinking is done in the rest, when the mind is at rest, and it's not being driven by self-criticism and anxiety and inferiority and a whole bunch of stuff like that whirling around. That tends to sort of calm down, depending on what's your worst sort of irritation mentally, whether it's negative thinking or it's perfectionism or whatever it is, you know, that noises you up your mind. That will start to get more manageable. And then you start to get more quality of life in amongst the busyness. In fact, you can be probably much more effective at being busy. You can just target, go in, do the thing, and, you know, or you realize, whoa, don't do that. That's going to become a mess, you know, like, and you go, all right, I won't, I'll just drop it. I won't, you know, stubbornly force on and just because I had this idea to clean and paint that thing over there, you can pull back and go, no, it won't look even better at all. Drop it. All right, I dropped it. All right, relax, go and have a cup of tea. So
that's massively true, actually. Yeah.
When your wisdom can stop your automatic. You say, oh, I painted that. Everybody loved it. I'll just paint that then. And that could just be automatic. You know, that kind of thinking where you're just doing things a bit on reflex and not really on, what's that word? Prudence, you know, where you consider the options first and then reconsider them and then go, is that wise? Yes, it is. So go ahead, you know, or no, drop it. But you have options. You're not just running on autopilot.
Yeah, just gives you that real mental clarity. That's something that I've seen over the last few months. It's been a tough few months, and I've seen it really be able to give me some mental clarity, just to really help to target what the real important things are and kind of be able to more clearly see what's less important and then not focus on the less important. And that has really, meditation's really helped for that. And to keep myself in a positive frame of mind so that I can move through things with more of a positive energy, and then the outcome seems to be more of a positive outcome at the end. When I do meditation, it just seems to flow. It just seems to naturally happen in a more fulfilling sense. Connections with people are better. I feel better in myself, so that's probably why the connections with people are better. And it seems like it kind of integrates itself into your whole, you know, your whole daily life activities, right from the beginning sleep, you know, when you're waking up to going to sleep at night. Just seems such a great, healthy thing to do.
You know, there are some big ones. Doubt, you know, doubt tends to be reduced. So the faith, you know, confidence, and the characteristic of that kind of faith is to clarity, clarifying.
Yeah.
When you're sort of not sure in a deep way, you know, and that it throws you back more into your intuition, so you trust it more, and that clarifies. So one of the characteristics of mindfulness, which should be on the up as you're meditating more, is to clarify. It has this being with the object, you know, whatever you're looking at, whatever you're attending to, you're with it, as opposed to the negative mind states, you're not with them. You know, you want that thing, but you haven't got it. So already you're agitating, get the car, go off, so you're running around. Or irritation, you don't want to be with it. So this push and pull of the mind also sets up agitation. There's like water that's either boiling or agitated, and same with doubt. I mean, the real mindfulness also comes up with clarity as a cofactor. And the opposite, if it's unmindfulness, if you're, you know, really not in the present moment and you're out of mindfulness, then you tend to have doubt on yourself, or doubt on your friend, or doubt on your what you're doing, or doubt with your community, but doubt, or doubt if there's kind of solutions, or just doubt. So the mind is always hovering. It's trying to take two objects at the same time. Is it this? Is it that? Is it this? Is that? Is it true? Is it not true? Is it? It's always agitating like that. So the opposite of that is faith. So faith is stilling and what you call collected, as opposed to dispersed.
Absolutely, yeah.
I can go on like this for like several months, so you better watch out.
Yeah.
But 11 years of training back there.
Absolutely, it's fascinating. It's brilliant. It's
this
brilliant.
Guy is telling me through the back of the thing.
Yeah.
Apart from the rope's falling off. I'm going to get some Velcro.
Yeah.
Put this on in about a minute, so it's falling off. Yeah, go
on. Since Tracey's just come in today, maybe before I go on to the next question, maybe you could talk a little bit about like how to access meditation, because I don't know if Tracey tried meditating.
Yeah.
Or
that's the best way.
With curly black hair.
I tried that. I tried salsa meditation. like getting people to do walking meditation, like right, left, right, pause,
yeah.
right, left, right, pause. The whole monastery going around like that. Backwards and forwards. Afro-Latino mindfulness. There you go.
Yeah.
The lesser known Buddha.
I'm sure it works.
Tito Buddha. What was the question again? So Tracey,
how would I access it as a newbie? How would I access meditation?
What do you mean? Do you mean? Can you define access?
So, can you recommend? Is there something that I could listen to start me off?
Yeah. Well, the one that comes to mind. Well, there's two that comes to mind. One is Insight Timer app, but that has way too many on, but that's not a bad thing. 26,000 guided meditations, but they're broken into categories, sleep, self-confidence, sort of they're broken into categories. And so that's quite a good thing to know about any time. I find, especially with new people, a bit new to it, you can have a good browse on there and you might come across teachers like Tara Brach or people like that, or established teachers who are right up your street, and you like their voice, you like their tone, you like their topics. And so having a browse on Insight Timer is free, so there's nothing to lose. And then there are some paid courses on there, but there's so much free content that's a good way to start. And then if you just want a straight, easy, like you don't want to be overwhelmed with choices and different people and all that, I've got some standard, really nice, meditations, guided meditations that are just on audio that I fully, endorse those techniques that I took from all over Southeast Asians, Theravada Buddhist teachers, the masters, and then I combined it into a sequence that I'm quite confident. I've run that through a lot of different people, and they're like, great, just works fine. It's a sequence that gradually walks you through many of the main meditations. So those are good. And then, I can always direct you on these talks to more, once I get to know your mentality and your personality and, your motivation and your responses to those and what you're aiming to, what's your main motivation. I can also link you to a teacher whose style works with what you're finding. You might go with someone and say, nah, that's too rigid, or I want something structured, or, I want something else to read as well, like whatever it is. I can, that's what part of it is also like finding the right teacher temperament. It might be Thich Nhat Hanh. You go, no, I don't really like his voice. And you go, okay, I want, Dina Gluberman's person, and then find the right one that works with you. And that changes as you go along as well. Your diet of books to read and guided meditations, and then so on. You'll listen to me for a little bit, and then you'll move on to someone else and explore what they have to give, and another one, come around again, all that sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, so that's interesting. So,
Access,
so there are different types of meditation to suit.
Yeah. You get people who are artistic. You get people who are very formal, and you get people who've got a specific thing in mind. Like eating disorder or something, and so there are just so many teachers around nowadays. And some people already have a bit of a background of something, and so it depends. When people talk to me, I can usually go, you've got gender issues. Then you want to talk to that Australian monk, or go and listen to his talks on LGBT, whatever it is. Or there was a guy who said he wanted to open up a cooking practice. He wanted to become a chef, and he's not sure about this type of meditation. I said, well, there's a guy who does the Zen cookery teaching. I said, really? What's his name? I said, yeah, Charlie. And I could pass him on. So that kind of matching, I like doing that. Because I really don't like, you get a lot of kind of narcissistic teachers. It's all about my way.
Okay.
You don't have to find any more. You've already found the answer. Sort of thing. It's all me. There's quite a lot of teachers who do that sort of approach. I've never trusted that sort of stuff. If someone's trying to make you dependent on them, sort of thing. And then there are some big overmasters. The big ones who, there was a big. There's only ever been 5 Buddhist councils in 2,500 years, and there was one in the 50s in Burma, and the main master of that, he really knows what he's talking about. So I've listened to him most of my monk life, called Mahasi Sayadaw. I really like his books, but I'll still go off and I'll listen to people, even from outside Buddhism, like if I don't, even from outside Buddhism, but outside Buddhism, people teaching about therapies and, Sadhguru or things like that. But I like to come back to that main teacher. He works for me. He was very authoritative and very, he refers to really knowledgeable on what the Buddha actually taught. And, that's deep and profoundly concise as well. It's really, really defined. So I like teachers who are able to quote that stuff and then teach me to understand it.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of bubblegum teachers out there. Just, suddenly after three week meditation, they suddenly declare that they're a teacher. It's like they haven't got much experience, not much knowledge. So.
Okay. Yeah. So for somebody who's completely beginning, and has like a little bit of time in their busy day, for example, maybe when the kids have gone to bed, or after dinner, or early in the morning before everyone gets up, what kind of, if there's a little easy step process that people could do to just access the present moment and just disconnect so that they can recharge, focus? Is it just literally focusing on the breath, calming the mind down, being in the present moment, and that would kind of train the mind to then become more familiar with that space to then advance into other meditation?
Breath counting up to 8. So not trying to breathe unnaturally, but just breathing through the nose. If you breathe in and then breathe out, and 1, and then breathe in and breathe out, 2, and just up to do that going up to 8, and then start again. Mm-hmm. And that's how I start off my sequence, because the mind is so scattered by then. You still, you only get, and if you get lost, which is easy, go up to 3 and then go, I left the gas on, or whatever it is,
yeah,
it's easy. Where did I go up to? 3. I got 3. So start over again. That's, the initial bit of meditation, your mind is still all over the place. It's still doing things, you still got a lot on, or what somebody said, or things you've got to remember to do tomorrow. So it takes a long while to just sort of, and the mind will settle down just from doing that, because you're keeping it on one object. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing special about that. It's just only the cool and the warmth of the breath coming in and out the nose. And then if you do manage to get settled, then you can increase it to breaking the breath in and then the breath out into 4 parts. So like, you know, it starts breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it goes out 5, 6, 7, 8, and then go up, you know, like 9, 10, and then aim to go up to 48. But to get up to anywhere like that, you might get a 32 and then lost. Hey, that's better than before. So you start, you know, rather than it being in like a like you're making it a bit more. It's like, you know, if you're trying to knit or something, you know, and you're just still all over the place, you still like, ow, you know, you're not really there. But after a little bit, you are, you know, you've managed to settle down. You're actually in the moment, and it's the same thing as you're like, and then you use the tickle spot, the sneeze patch up here inside the nose, inside. You know, where if you're going to sneeze, you got dust in your nose, and you like that tickly area. That's where you concentrate for the bigger ones, but for the finer ones, sorry. But for the sort of general in and out, anywhere in the main hub of the nose, or even this area, that's all right.
Okay, all right, excellent. And obviously, the more that's practiced, the more we get. We're training the mind to be controlled. We can start to control the mind better for longer. We become more comfortable with the mind, that connection, because that's what I found at the beginning.
You're in high risk area though, because you're talking about control, and only in this style of meditation that we're just describing there, which is focused meditation, where on one point you're using control. But when you go further and you start doing an insight meditation, you're learning and surrendering to the fact that you're not in control.
Yeah.
The 2 completely different aims. And that's why if you only ever just do the first type of meditation, which is concentrating on one point, you won't get realization. You probably get a big ego. Like that's typically what happens is people like, I was fantastic. I spent 3 weeks and I stilled it on the top of a candle tip and there I was the best. And you know, like people tend to keep the ego that they've got because it's about control. Absolutely. And that's why it doesn't remove ego. Whereas when you start, so that's, you know, the beginning part, and then you start to include many, many more objects like hearing, seeing, thinking, planning, and you see that it's all in change, and you stay in the middle of it all being dissolving and changing. And you don't keep a tight focus. You keep a much bigger area focus, the whole stomach, but you're including about 100 objects of attention, like the warmth of the skin, the sponginess of the skin, the coolness on the skin, movement, you know, stomach moving in and out, sounds, color, sight, smells, taste, you know, it's many pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, states of mind. So there's many, 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 many things. But what you're looking for there is that everything is changing and you can't control it, and that you keep getting things you don't want and not being able to get what you do want. So those 3 universal characteristics are what, you know, the more you accept them, the wisdom factor increases, because and the fact, like I said, the fact that you can't control them. You get an itch, you know, you get a sound you don't want, and there you go. You just keep watching it and you open the mind that way to the fact that you can't control things. But the first step is, control. And then that leads on to you can't control.
Well, that's very fascinating. I didn't know that.
Two different types. Those are globally 2 types of meditation. One is concentration, where you just hold the same thing in the object for seconds after seconds after seconds after minutes after minutes. You're keeping the same thing in the object of the mind. So you're just holding on to something. And then the second type is where you are observing and you're training your perceptions to see those 3 perceptions that talks about. The perception of impermanence, which is, you know, constant change and flux, dissolving. 2 is dukkha, which is you will always be receiving things that you don't want and get it and not be able to keep and be associated with the things you want all the time. So that's just nature. And the more that you have attachment, the more suffering you get. And then the third one is that you can't control everything, and that you can't find a permanent self. So those are the 3 characteristics. So anatta, means you can't control everything to be the way you want it to be, and that you can't find a permanent self anywhere. You only, because they're all three faces of the same truth. Once you see things just a flux and everything is just, you know, just schmoosh going on, you know, and you try to find something that's lasting in there and you can't find it. And that's one of the faces of the non-self part of it.
Yes.
You see everything is conditioned, and where you have this conditions, you have that effect. And that's just the way it is. And then you have to get used to that, accepting it. But the ego wants things not to change, and it wants to have things just the way it wants, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. We all know about that ego.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very fascinating.
White teeth.
Like the teeth. You must show Tracey your curly straw.
Just in case you're wondering what she's talking about, that is actually a curly straw. It's full of coffee as well. I've got to watch out. Decaffeinated.
I'm going to have to get myself a curly straw too.
It's really practical. It is really practical. It is for practical purposes of not staining your teeth when you're drinking your Bante's mixture, which is now for sale online. Lavender flavored.
Bante's meditation tea.
It's 20 ingredients. I've been trying to tell people. They got a thing called 10-in-1 here, which is like ginger, turmeric, and then all the Pinot herbs and spices, and so there's that goes in there. And then I got this thing called 7 spices chai from Sri Lanka that gets sent here. And then the other bit is Starbucks decaffeinated Komodo Dragon Blend ground coffee. So it all goes in.
Komodo Dragon Blend, blimey.
And some creamer, and then I drink it. But yeah, I drink it through here because it's so it doesn't stain your teeth. I realize that if I'm drinking, especially turmeric, I'm gonna end up like, I remember I was working with kids in England, and I went, "How are you doing today?" And this kid went, "Why are your teeth so yellow?" I think that was it back in the days when I was drinking a bit of red wine, you know, like you get that sort of like stained teeth. But that was a slap in the ego. Why are your teeth so yellow, Mr. Norris?
Or you smile at the kids and they all start crying because they're scared of you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, there you
Especially
go.
with the gander. But yeah,
you can smell your
teeth in
teeth.
the back of your mouth instead of like drinking through your teeth like we normally do. So I'm hoping, I'm only 55, but I'm hoping by the time I get to 85, I'll still have like reasonably yellow teeth.
You'll have good American teeth. They're always want American teeth.
Yeah, sometime I'll get them sent in the post. What did we get to anyway? So a bit of a digression. That's the curly thing though, yeah.
That's the curly teeth.
I think that I have it on good authority. The Buddha probably had one of those somewhere. They just haven't found it yet.
Actually, that's a question I have. That's a question. I've been interested in brainwaves lately, and and I
happen to have one here though.
Yeah.
Excitable idea. Yeah, I can tell you all about that. I happen to have a brainwave that I had made before the show. No, this is a device, my second one. I had another one that was called Muse, and that was like a band that you put around, and it had 5 sensors on. Yeah. And Muse was really good because it came with apps, or an app that gave you guided meditations. This would be a good one for you, by the way. That one gave you guided meditations, and it's like you could set it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and it would give you it just has some neat methods of getting you to concentrate. For an example, one of the ones is, so it shows the main 5 band widths that are measured. So it's like noisy, silent, you know, and then you've got everything in between. So the really active one is called gamma, and then you've got beta, alpha, theta, and delta. And delta is really quiet. People tend to imagine that you meditate, or people who meditate are always in delta. Well, that's just not the case. You know, if you have a car accident and you're in coma, well, your brain's in delta. So, but a lot of your brain is always in delta, and a lot of your brain is like, because your eyes are always usually working, they're that bit of the brain that, you know, the occipital lobe at the back here, that bit's in gamma, in the active bit, but another bit will just be in delta. So it's not like, it's like a city, you know, some bits are really active and some bits are really dormant, you know, they're dormitory areas, and other bits are really, you know, really busy, and other bits are a bit busy, and some bits are just like the park, nothing out of the nunnery, the nunnery of ruin. It was no. The brain's like that. It's not one thing. It's not like the whole brain just sort of goes into one of these. It's so that you see that, with Muse, you do have a kind of a map at the end of it. Once it's finished, it goes finished, you know, and then you see a kind of wavelength of, you know, you're in active, you know, maybe someone knocked on the door or something, and you go, woo, what was that? And then you go calm down again, you know, and if you're really good, it will go boom, really, really low, which can happen. And they have a neat thing where it has an ambient background sound. And if you've had sort of a certain amount of seconds of deep chill, you get a bird chirp. So it doesn't put you off, you know, go chip, chip, and then you go, you know, chip, 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 and then you go, boop, 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 whoa, you're up again. So that's Muse. You can look about that, but it's a little bit simple because it's got only 5. Yeah. And I found that the battery in it is not so good. It wears out after a bit, and then it's a real hassle to get another one. But I use that for a long time, and I use it with groups and stuff. You know, I got a projector, you know, and I link my iPad to a projector on the wall, and people will put it on and all that sort of thing. Really, that's really good. And I think, you know, using them in groups is kind of okay. All it's measuring though is the, you know, the jelly in your head, how much electrical and magnetic activity is going on in there. It's not measuring how wise it is. It's just measuring activity. So someone could be a professional hit sniper and they can have a mind that's totally dead flat as they sort of put down. So there'd be very little activity going on in there, presumably with a psychopathic serial killer or something. So it's not measuring wisdom. It's only measuring what it measures. And therefore it's not usually measuring in meditation activity so much as inactivity, like less, you know, quietening down. But this one is Emotiv, Epoc Plus, and that has 14 of them on. It's more sophisticated. It's got like 14. You can consider each of the little sensors as like a microphone. Yeah. Not in the sense that it's picking up your voices. It's like CIA. They got 40. It's picking up noise, you know, noisiness. But because it's got 14 sensors, it can cross-refer them to create a matrix that more or less represents the shape of your brain. So I know this, you know, when you listen to a bit of music at the same time as it on, and then you get a bit, you know, it's going from calm music to a really like upbeat bit of music. Yeah. Different bits of your brain light up. And with that one, you get real-time reactions, whereas the other one you don't. You just get this guided meditation, you know, with someone like Deepak Chopra going, you are in deep state, you know, sort of talking you through it. But with this one, you're getting, you just put it on and straight away on the screen, you're getting a 3D brain that's rotating very slowly with all these bits, like Christmas in, you know, Oxford Street or something, it's just lighting up, you know, with and they have different colors, lights on the brain, the 3D brain, for the different gamma, beta, alpha, theta, delta states. So, you know, and then you can also press a button that will, you know, like show the eye section, the ear section, the frontal section, the top section, you know, things like that. So you can get a bit more of a sort of basic brain student idea about it. Yes. They also have a weird thing, which is a nice idea, but they don't seem to have developed it that far, which was where they put something on the screen like a cube, and then they roll it, and you kind of imagine that you're rolling it. And then so they map that reaction in your brain, and then the next time they just put the thing in free float, and when your brain does that pattern again, it will make it roll. So you sit there and you go, and it will go, it will roll if you get it right. And they have a video about on a YouTube about the founder of it, which is a Vietnamese woman, Tan Le, I think her name is, and it's called Use the Force, you know, like use the force, Luke, you know, sort of thing. And it's good. It's got where they got a video of a lotus, white lotus opening up and then closing, and then they linked it with that. But they haven't released that commercially. But they got this, you know, National Geographic guy who was interviewing and finding out what this is all about. And he sits there and he puts it on, and then he sort of goes, you know, and then it opens. He goes, "Wow, I did it!" You know, and like opening, closing the thing. You know, that's. But I wrote to him and said, "Where can I get that app?" They said, "Oh no, it's not not out." So, okay. But that's worth watching. If you look at a YouTube called "Use the Force," it's a nice introduction to the founder. She's just a person who passionate about this kind of thing. But this is a good, or it was. I mean, this is about 3 or 4 years old. It's up on my shelf now. I don't really use it that much. I mean, I think once you get over the hilarious idea that you're watching, you know, your brain light up, and you can go, and it will go, you know. Once you've got over that sort of thrill, there's not that much functional use for it, and it doesn't really seem to be designed for meditators the way that Muse is. But you can keep this one on for a really long time. The batteries are really good, and the way it charges up. So it will stay. You can put it on for like an hour or 45 minutes or something while you potter around, and you can see the effects of you pottering around on the screen. But the Muse is more to get you to sit in deep meditation and see how that went. And that's nice because then you get a record of every day that you meditated and all that sort of stuff. It's got a kind of life log. I think that it's more those people who are into those Apple Watches and life logging, you know, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
There is a critical thing here, though, that's underpinning all of this, which is that in the West, the assumption is that the mind is an outcome of the brain. Across the board, everyone says, "Oh, you've got Alzheimer's. It means your brain got Alzheimer's. Therefore, you, the mind, have got, you know, get the effects of the brain." Whereas in Asian, certainly Buddhism is not quite as clear cut as that. Is generally speaking, the thing is that the mind precedes matter, which is not an idea that goes on in the West at all. Because generally speaking, the other assumption is that you are born a blank slate produced by your parents and their genes. So that's kind of roughly, you know, the general underlying thing since about 200 years is that you're born a blank slate, and conditioning from parents and environment creates everything. And after that, you got lucky or you didn't, and you know, that's that. Your behavior comes out of that. But in Asian thinking, I say Asian, but Buddha Dharma thinking, you've got many lives, and the mind precedes matter. So if you're born beautiful, that's because you develop those qualities over many lifetimes as a consequence of good actions. So, but the wholesome mind happens just before, you know, like we're talking about billionths of seconds, you know, just before is the mind's intentions and state of mind, and the matter comes afterwards. It's not the only effect. Obviously, matter affects matter. You know, you put an apple out in the sun, it's going to go brown. So that's, you know, the hot air affecting the apple. So it's matter, it does affect matter. And matter does affect the mind. You know, if you have a hot shower, it'll put you in a mood of a certain kind. And the mind can affect matter, like when you have an intention and you do something. And also mind affects mind. You know, you have a thought, and if you cling to it, you get a mood following along. So there's those 4 reactions. Mind affects mind affects matter, matter affects matter, and matter affects mind. So that's the sort of underpinning. But yeah, a lot with Western thinking, it's really fixed is that, you know, what the matter is, the mind is just the outcome of that. And that's not categorically the case and particularly with this idea of karma, which is that you have many more, the mind is moving on. It's a bit like we've got the internet now and we've got our device now, but, you know, there has a lot of history before. but it's not the same thing. It's not, you don't have one soul, one spirit, one self, or something going from life to life to life to life to life. What you have is a evolving, developing process, which is, depending on what you do with it, is progressing or sort of regressing up and down in a kind of snakes and ladders, doing good, getting good, doing bad, getting bad process, and a mixture of all those.
I was quite fascinated on
when you're talking about brain science. It's an important point.
Yeah, that's interesting. The mind and the matter. So I've been interested in listening to like the scientific approach on that, where they're kind of saying that it's quantum physics, like everything is energy. So energy can be translated into different words maybe, or different definitions, but it takes it away from the matter, and actually the mind is frequency. It's frequency which holds information, and therefore it's energy, and it's disconnected from matter, which would be, I don't know, parts of the body, if you like, or something that is like, for example, they were saying people could be healed from having cancerous tumors, and it was the tumor that was the matter. But actually through meditation, people could heal themselves and relieve and literally see the tumor disappear. And it was the energy that was, how would that sort of translate into?
Personally, I think it's dangerous because from the first place, frequently when you have some kind of illnesses are not produced by the mind. They're produced by a company dumping pollution into the water source or something. Yet you might have someone saying, I must have done this. What did I do? How do I stop it? You know, and it's really not the case. It can just be matter affecting matter, but their mind and their perception and their beliefs are generating more suffering than is necessary. Quantum thinking is anyway disputed, and often that people start off with a theory and then they try to bend the physics to fit it. So they might start off with the idea that everything is mind. So then they try to sort of like fit it, you know, fit the physics to it by getting right down to quarks, you know, right into atoms, and then trying to sort of work out what came first, you know, which is a chicken and egg thing, which is something the Buddha said, don't go there, you know, because then they really are dabbling in what was the origin of the universe, you know, was it a mind or was it a matter?
You
know, and then they're fiddling around with some really complex topics, and then they are inferring truths out of that. So I like the Buddhist thing because it's observable, you know, matter is matter, mind is mind. You know, when you try to make them the same thing, then it starts getting confusing, you know, like, is it all a dream? Did I dream you? Am I in your dream? Or you're in dream? You start getting into some sort of cul-de-sacs of logic based on it, you know, like the Matrix and those things where you can easily get confused because you're trying to, you know, squish things into this sort of like Inception or something where, you know, you're basing the whole idea that everything is a dream, or everything is mind, or everything is mind produced, or matter and mind are the same thing. And then, you know, so it's not necessarily, you know, is an earthquake caused by you, right? Or, you know, so on and so forth. There's a lot of things that I think if you just stick with the basic Buddhist dualism, you avoid a lot of that confusion, which is that, like the one I said, you know, there's matter and it affects matter, and there's mind, and there's basic dualism. Dualism was really unpopular, you know, 150 years ago because it came over like people who were there's either materialists who are scientists, they just believe in physical nature and the laws that govern physical nature, like physics, chemistry, and biology. And then there's the religious who believe in soul and matter, you know, Christian soul and matter. And there's like, that's it. As if you've only got these two views, and one of them's right and one of them's wrong. But the Buddha he illuminated or pointed out or illustrated 62 views There's not only two. So, you know, but even if you look under dualism and monism in Wikipedia, you see quite a few different variations of these things. But the there was a guy who I listened to him a lot, Brooks Agnew, and he's distinctly into this thing, this theory that you were just describing, and I like it. I do like him, and I like his stuff, and he's got a background in meteorology, and so it's quite interesting. It comes across very lucid. He's talking hard science. It's not waffle, and it's not kind of new age hippie sort of drifty stuff. He's talking really grounded stuff, and then he gets into sort of physics, and then molecules. I'm all right, and then atoms. Yeah, all right, and then they start getting down into quarks and string, and then he comes starts bringing in this sort of neo-pagan stuff about. It's almost like Rosicrucianism or something. It's just off it, and like I say, inferring these grand other things that everything is really all one, or they're trying to squeeze things into those sort of theories.
Okay.
But yeah, it's easily gets. There was one like the holographic universe, and that was like that, and it was like based on the idea that when you if you have a hologram of a rose and you break it up, every bit of the shatter has a rose in it, and then the guy was like, and that's what the universe is like, and you have the whole universe in you. And go on. Like, if you take a little bit of you, it's got the entire universe in it, macro, micro, as above, so below. And you're like, whoa. They make these sort of super links. They're pure invention. They're nice and they're really seductive ideas, but they're just ideas. Then they try to fit science to sort of make them true, or make documentaries that. With a lot of animation or something to sort of squish it to make it look even more plausible.
Yeah. So on the
So what was your question? I keep losing the question.
Yeah.
You were saying, no, can people heal themselves and all that? No, not always. Not even the Buddha couldn't heal himself. So, and I think it can be risky thinking. If you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. I think if you meditate a lot, you tend to drop habits that are destroying your health, like alcohol, like drugs, like friends who endorse both of them. So you tend to get a healthier immune system, and then your gut intuition and your openness to learn about how you can set up the best causes and conditions for healthiness. And many of those views that I'm talking about tend to fall away. I think if you're hanging out with bogus people who are putting on a load of views about, I don't know, whatever, milk, raw food, or whatever it is, that you're hearing, you tend to be able to sort of, your truth detector tends to get sharper. Because if it's meditation that's increasing wisdom, your critical factor, your ability to investigate truth gets sharper as well. It should be. That this investigation of truth factor should be getting sharper to sort out truth from false, good from bad, right from wrong. Should be happening. Otherwise, you won't increase wisdom.
Right.
So sometimes, if there's factors that are outside your control, you can accept them. If there are things that are within your control, you get the power. Like if you're with a narcissistic partner who's, vampiring your energy or entrapping you or gaslighting you, you're going to become aware of it better. Your ability to investigate truth get better, and your psychological defenses and protection start to improve through the action or function of the wisdom. Not to be so gullible and defenseless. So that happens step by step. if your path is working well. And then if there are things like I talked about, like the factory that's dumping stuff in the river up the road and you're drinking it, you get more, I think you get to be more aware. If you're in a house and you suddenly go, hey, we haven't got a fire extinguisher, this could go up at any time, you know, you'll act on it. You start to be able to see things as they are, less illusions, less delusions and illusions. And you can start to see actual science, you know, like, oh, if we have this cause and we have this thing, well, it can just happen. There's nothing to stop it. There's no sort of spirits and angels floating around that are going to suddenly do it for me. It's so you get more empowerment and more clear perception and the oomph to do stuff. You don't sort of delay and neglect and avoid and all that. You know, I'll just, you know, my boyfriend's narcissistic, but I'll change him one day. Sort of, no, get out of there. You know, so I think those tend to start to wake up. So in the waking up process, there's a whole lot of action. So you might get depressed. You should get depressed. Like if you're in a depressing situation, it's good to feel the depression, because that might be masking, you know, rage, anger, defenses, and alert and alarm. So as long as the zombie witch doctor doesn't put you back to sleep again, then you can act on it and get out of Dodge City, sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So those talking about things that harm and things that heal, you know, recognizing the toxic and recognizing the healthy. Sometimes people are throwing away the healthy. And it's also, you ask a question about clutter and decluttering, this kind of life laundry process that happens as you start to meditate. Is sometimes you realize what you've got, you know, as you start to, like when you declutter your house, you're like, hey, I forgot I didn't realize I had that, you know, like, and that's really valuable. And it's been hidden by all this junk, you know, that's just crap. Why am I keeping hold of all this crap? You know, so you declutter and then space. So you find that you've got more time, you know, and a lot of that busyness is just, you defragment your hard drive. You just find you've got more space than you thought. You can actually be content with things as they are.
Yes,
you know,
right.
The right kind of perceptions and contentment can settle in, and panic can. But if you have to get out of, you know, if you're in a country that doesn't have enough sunlight, or if you're in a environment where there's toxic parents or something, you know, like one of those things, and you have to make a leap, and then you can be content because you're in now safe and secure. So, you know, those sometimes those take a big change. You know, I went no contact with my parents and didn't regret it at all. I thought, now I can be and so can they. So, but while I was living under their feet, trying to sort of do family therapy around it was all nightmares. But you know, meditation like that will tell you, it will go, ding, this is the right thing to do. And so there's listening to it.
That makes huge amounts of sense and logic. That really resonates totally. Just getting that mental clearness to be able to appreciate the things that are important because you suddenly see them, and just to be more aware of realities when you start to calm your mind down, so you can see things more clearly about how you feel as well, because it puts you in touch with how you're actually feeling emotionally, rather than this kind of tourbillon, like this wild whirlwind of emotions. That's certainly something I've been in the last few months. It's like or even a few years, I think, just living in like some whirlwind, and now I'm away from that, and I'm meditating more, and I'm really able to see much more clearly the reality of situations, how I feel, how I felt, how I want to feel, how my day is, what kind of days do I want to have, what do I need to be in myself to be the best, so that I can be the best for my daughter, for example. What does she need? And it just puts me so much more in touch with the more simple and powerful necessity things that are important to me, rather than all garbage and junk, you know, that I was hanging on to. And it was very refreshing just to let that go. But meditation really helped me to be able to get there, very much so. I was really surprised, actually, to a point where I actually, if I didn't meditate in one day, I missed it. And when I finished meditating in the morning, I was already looking forward to the next time I was going to do it. It just felt really empowering and cleansing, and and comforting, because I was connecting more with the reality of who I am. And that was very, very empowering to be able to do that, because it put me on track. And that was really cool. I really appreciated that. So, yeah.
You got any thoughts you want to share, Tracey?
So I teach. I'm a deputy head of a very large primary school, so I have 430 children. And it was just really interesting hearing what you both had to say. I'm really interested in the whole nature, nurture, lucky, unlucky children. And we introduced mindfulness into our school for our children. But thinking about me and taking it forward, yes, I'd like to get into meditation. And just wondering realistically how long we should be putting aside for meditation. Faye, I don't know how long you spend on your meditation in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, I teach 100 children here. There's 1,000 kids in the school. So there's not going to be like, you know, once the sun comes up, you're on a roll, you know, like there's a lot of activities and there's all the unpredicted things. So that's why I recommend the night personally. But I don't know if that's an Asian thing, because it's a, you know, here always warm. It's always warm. So actually in the nighttime it's a bit cool. It's nice. But as I say, if you get an early night, so you get your basic, you know, your exhaustion of the day done between, you know, 9 o'clock to midnight. Just basically got the main bit of it out of the way. And then, you know, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, just more dreaming and stuff. And then you're kind of, you could get up then, and then you wouldn't miss 45 minutes out. You know, I get up, I might have a shower, I might have a coffee, and then I'm kind of alert enough and I'm comfortable enough and I'm quiet, and it's quiet enough around. There's no traffic or anything, no noise. And that's a good time, I find, to, the mind will settle down. And if there's priority stuff to know, it'll surface. You know, why did he say that? You know, that's a really odd thing to say, or something like that. Those kind of forefront things that came up during the day, they'll be there, and you can, you know, and your mind will naturally usually prioritize things, and the more significant things that you ought to be aware of or want to solve will present themselves. And then, you know, probably in a rapid space of time, in the space of 5 minutes, you can sort out tons of stuff. You're not sorting it out. It just presents itself, because by then your brain and your mind are refreshed. Your mind's clear enough. And then you can also just do the things, you know, just muse, just big think, you know, like you're talking about, that kind of heron in the air thinking rather than the frog in the well thinking. It's like, you know, big think, you know, like, so it might be like, you know, you put something pops up from 10 years ago and yeah, you know, like, or your intuition just comes in with something. But whatever it is, your mind is kind of, it's not just bing 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 from all the, like in the day once you get going, because you're so physical, like picking up the bags, putting stuff in your pocket, and then getting on the laptop, and then, you know, you're kind of back-to-back windows, you know, just bing, 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 bing. So there's a kind of a relentless, automatic nature of the day that in the nighttime, I think you can big think. And that's a really good time to meditate. Even, like I say, half an hour, 45 minutes, more if you're feeling good and it's going well. And then go back to sleep, you know, for a half hour or 40 minutes before getting up. And that is super sleep, I find. It's really good quality, great dreams, and you wake up feeling really good, you know, your whole body. And you also suddenly feel like you've kind of done stuff already. It's not like you're getting up and go, oh God, I've got stuff to do, and I'm still thinking just there. You know, I find that's a good time to do a sit, comfortable, relaxed, and low light. And also I always keep some project, you know, pads next to me to make notes for what comes up, because it's usually really valuable. And if you don't sort of treasure it, you know, at least make a note. That just helps you to pick it up later on. and go, oh yeah, that's a really good idea in the night. Yeah, we've got to move that thing over here, and then that problem will just be solved by that. Great, I've been working that one for ages. That sort of thing.
Yes.
All priority things that you've forgotten about, that's also, because you haven't been paying attention. So that's incorporating it into classes is good. I mean, there's on Insight Timer, there's something by Jenny Bell called Classroom Reset. And that's just a 5-6 minute thing. There's two of them under teen, or I think it's classroom. If you just Google, if you just put in the search of Insight Timer Classroom, there's two main ones that come up. But that's just nice. It's simple. It's just like sit quietly, listen to the sounds in the corridor outside, calming down, feel your feet on the floor, just feel your breath coming in and out. It's very, very simple. Nothing more complicated than that. And I incorporated those into my classes ages ago, and the kids just like it. And I asked them, if even slightly more complex meditations, I said, how does that go? Is that all right? And the kids come back, yeah, I do it first thing in the morning. It really clears my mind, ready for study. Brilliant. So, and that's nothing sophisticated, not laying on the floor of the classroom or, something like that. It's just you play it over the TV, you put it on and link it with the HDMI cable, and it's enough. Yeah. Very simple. And the same one over and over again. I do it for, I think kids of that age that I work with, which is 12 to 16, they like consistency. But I've given them the app, and some of them like exploring, and venturing off and like doing all the different varieties. But many of them just stick with the same one, keep it simple. That's. I'm very happy. I'd send you my link I created a website when we went online here. I created a website which has a lot of PDF books on to do with teen workbooks, anxiety, insomnia, gaming, social media. It's about 70 or 80 of those type of books. The kids use those, they're workbooks, fill in the things. So that part of it, because there's two kind of side of meditation. One is that stuff, is the stilling, calming. But the other side is this sort of psychotherapeutical sort of self-insight side of it. If it's ADHD, or if it's depression, or it's eating mindfully or whatever, there's tons of different things that the kids are like, ooh, I want to find out about perfectionism, or I want to know about, bullying, or whatever it is. Those will always surface up at some point, the kind of social and emotional factors. If you don't look for them, they'll find you anyway. If you just meditate, anger issues or something will surface. And then it's good to have something which is also, I think, not too magical and mystical, that is they can identify with it. So I find these books, I trust them because they were written by, PhD educational experts in the States. And, they're just secular mindfulness. They're not anyway also, the B word, they're not Buddhist or religious or something, because half of my students are Christian or some Muslim or something.
That's really interesting. Thank you. That's really interesting. No,
I mean, also I'll send you the link if you want, except for the fact that they copyrighted, they're obviously copyrighted material on there, but for the use, for the what they called the publisher, I can't remember the publisher. I know that they'd be all right with me just using it within class. If I was using it actually in class, we were still in class, I'd be using the hard copy. But if I send you that, then take a look. Maybe just have a look at it yourself. You'll get that idea. Yeah. We had that sort of 2 or 3 months when no one knew what was going on after the lockdown. So I made it during that time. And there's a section on it. Well, there's one section where there was actual life of the Buddha thing made on Netflix, which I just like. It's just like it's like Jason and the Argonauts or something. It's really, really rich in costumery, and they've done a really good job. It's not actually that close to the real thing, but it's still pretty good. It's great melodrama. They put in a lot of poison porridge stories that aren't in the real thing, but they're great. They make great. They invented a few characters, a sort of jealous auntie who's always trying to stab people in the back and stuff. So it's really gripping stuff. So that actually is good for just contextualizing it. And then there's another section, which is these teen workbooks. Like I said, there's, I think 70, I bought 70 of them or something and put them all up there, a link to them. And then I got modern teen books for, you know, Blue Jean Buddha, Buddha's Apprentice, or stuff like that, which is just basically about mindfulness for American, you know, how American kids found it, you know, in their own lives. And then the section, the one I told you about, Jenny Bell's meditation, but it links to the Insight Timer. And from that, you, if you want the other 25,999, you've got them too. So
Wow.
But yeah, I'll send you that link after the, you know, in this somehow. How do we do that? Is there a chat, a Zoom thingy? Yeah, chat box or something.
Yeah.
I'll go. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. To everyone. Hi. Z, can you see that? The
Yeah,
hi?
yeah, I can.
Yeah. All right, give me a moment and I'll try to.
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, that should be a bit of fun. Let me know how it goes, and you know, if it's useful for you, that'd be a good weird thing. I'm reorbiting back into Hertfordshire via the satellites. And
yeah, that'd be great.
Brother Ben. So.
Yeah, it's our school's right on the edge of Berylanium.
Is it? How weird. Berylaniums. Gosh, hypercosts.
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't that what they had?
The hypercaust, yeah. The underfloor.
That sounds like expensive housing or something.
Yeah, yeah. The Roman underfloor heating.
Yeah, amazing. How do I do this then? Forward, more, copy. And I'll open it up and then get the link. See if this works.
Lovely. If not, send it to Faye and Faye can forward it on.
No, I think it will work. I've just copied the.
Oh, okay.
I think. Oop, that isn't it. Indicate deep relaxation. Wait a minute. Nearly got it. Yeah, a lot of fun doing this because I really like Peter Gabriel, and he made a thing called Eve, which was a CD-ROM game, which way back in the 90s I was going, how do you, whoa, you know, and it was like environments that you have portals to, you know, other realms or something, a bit like a game. And I sort of always wanted a reason to make something that was roughly using that kind of technology. So this sort of gave me that, you know, excuse to sort of do something. So I made a bit of a mini virtual version of our temple and our school. And there is actually there's an offline version which runs smoother, by the way.
Okay.
I'll give you the link for that if it's on Google Drive. Do you know about offline versions of things like Zip? You get a Zip version of it. You're looking very puzzled or worried.
Oh, that's lovely.
No, that doesn't look right. That doesn't look like it. Can you see it? Can you actually see the green page with my picture and the Bante's Inferno? Okay, well, you're roughly on the right track.
Cool. And then
I'll try and send the offline version, but that tends to get a bit complicated, unzipping it and all that.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Not the second one. I'm going to try to remove one bit because it did look like it didn't really work. I know I can't get rid of it. Not the second one, the bottom one, one that says HTTPS drivegoogle.com, that one. Disregard the other bit. But that's just like if you're going to download the whole thing as a zip file so that later on you can use it without the internet. So that version, you definitely get all the animation. Because here we've got pretty iffy internet speed all the time. So it's not so good if you've got animation, you know, things lag and hang and stuff. But if you've got, I think your internet is probably pretty good there, isn't it, Hertfordshire?
Yeah, yeah.
So then... that'd
be good. It won't let me download it at the moment, but I'll have a look in a minute.
What, the zip one or the other one?
Yeah, the zip one.
One of them should sort of play in just now.
Yeah.
Won't let you download it? Oh, maybe I'll get a request from because I have to add your email maybe or something like that.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's because it's too
Maybe
large.
it's because all my students. Oh.
Yeah, because it's too large.
Right.
I can look at it on the first one's fine. That one works.
I'll do that then. Okay. All right. Well, maybe that's sort of enough.
I'll have a look at that. Thank you.
That's okay. If
Very
I figure
much.
out how to do the zip one. Oh, welcome.
Very cool. There's some really good content on there. There's some. I've had a good surf in there. Absolutely. And also the insight timer you were saying, that really is that's a really good place to be. Yeah, you could spend a long time on there. It does take a while to find, to resonate with the right voice and the right style, depending on how you're feeling, what your needs are, but there's a bit of everything for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of a mixed blessing. That, I mean, when I was first into Asia and just looking at this thing, there was only like three. There's like 3 teachers in the whole world. Now there's like 3 million.
Yeah.
They were very cynical about that sort of buffet approach, to our Western style of thinking. It's very much like this sort of supermarket browsing buffet, what about this teacher? Oh no, what about this teacher? Whereas back then it was like, you're really loyal and sort of thing. And so it springs around us. But I think I don't see any harm in it. And I like to see my students checking out both, sticking with one if that's what works for them, but being sort of free to sort of look around at lots of different things and see what they come up with.
Sure, absolutely. Well, it's been awesome. Absolutely awesome again. And I have more questions, but we're going to save those for the next time, which if you're good.
Sure, I'm good if you want after, yeah.
Yeah, like
whenever you want to do, I'm happy. I did write down answers to your other ones that you sent early on. You sent a kind of list of,
brilliant
typical ones, but you've probably got teaching to do or something in Paris.
I do actually. Yeah, I've got to zoom off. To a villa, so I'm going to just feed this little cherub here and we'll take off. But Wednesday.
All these new verbs coming out, zooming off.
Yeah,
and that's obviously French, that one, isn't it? Zoom off. It's like a Star Trek, isn't it? Yeah. I've been told I look like a Star Trek guy. What's his name?
Oh yeah, what was his name?
What's his name?
Dr. Spock.
The new one. Yeah. No, the other one. I can't remember his name. The guy who didn't he play Gandalf? That one. The same actor, wasn't it? Not William Shatner. The other one.
The other one. I must admit, I haven't seen it.
Well, him anyway. Star Trek guy.
It was him. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well,
namaste.
Go forth and prosper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Namaste. Yeah.
Namaste. Absolutely.
Thank you. It's great. I wish I'd known you were deputy headmistress early on. I could have. We'll talk about it next time. I'd like to know more. And if you got, have a look through the website. If you've got any questions or there's any ideas. Yeah. There's quite a bit within that. Obviously, I've been here for 3 years working with these age band, so there's quite a lot to pool on. Reflective questions is great with kids. I'm really enjoying that. I used to give them the questions, and then I started saying to them, "Okay, I'll give you 8. You give me 1 back." And I've got 100 of them every time, giving me 100 questions.
Yeah.
So, like, if you found an alien egg, would you crack it open or not, and why? They give you these brilliant questions. So all of those questions now become, the 8 questions for the lessons. So that's how the lessons start. It's like icebreaker, for them. But that's a really good one to get the kids engaged.
I think
if you start telling them like this is what we're going to do, they kind of, but once they're involved like that, it's more engaging for them.
Yeah.
Lovely.
But I don't think, if you make it all about your eyes is another way to switch them off, sort of thing. But I think if you do something like that, icebreakers, it's going to get them engaged and interested. You've got to have that. You've got to have interest and fascination or some form of engagement for the meditation really to be of any effect, I think.
Brilliant.
Can you hear me, by the way? I just realised the microphone slipped down my bra. So. Yeah,
well, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for being here today, and lovely to see you as always.
Welcome,
and
yes.
Lovely to see you, Tracey.
What's it, next Wednesday? Mercredi?
Yeah, Wednesday would be wonderful. Yeah. Absolutely. So just on the time front.
Great. All right then.
So would 6 be okay for you if it's 12, or do you want me to do 1?
Oh, have you just gone into springtime then? Have you just literally slipped back an hour?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Because we don't. We're on the equator here, so it's all the farming is all just same as it ever was. All right, yeah, okay. So 6. This as we did it today was fine, except for the fact that I was in a panic and a flap about it.
Yeah.
Yep. Great. Yeah.
12 for me and 6 for you. Perfect. All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful
12 for me. Yeah, I've been ripped off. How come it's 12 for you and 6 for me? That's not fair. I get 50%. All right, okay.
Awesome.
Donnez-moi 5. All right.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
It's a Hertfordshire from me. And
Thank
the old
you.
ghosts of Verulamium.
Yeah.
How do I do
with those?
I'm stuck. All right.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, Faye. Say hi to Rihanna. Rhiannon.
Big hi to your big high five to your clan. Bye.
Oh, and to you and to yours. Lovely to see you.